We are about to listen to a story of the secret wife of the king in Calabar. Long, long ago, in the kingdom of Efiok in Calabar, there was a woman named Ita Ekamba. She was the secret wife of King Efiok, yet her life was a fire of contradictions. She was stubborn as iron, she was rude to the king, even daring to mock him. She hated him for hiding her away. She had borne him 2 children, and despite her fire, the king's heart returned to her again and again. Many seasons earlier, King Efiok first saw Ita Ekamba at the riverside. She was pounding cassava with such strength that her arms glistened with sweat, her laughter rising above the river like a song. The other maidens bent and blushed when the king passed, but not Ita. She looked him in the eye and said boldly, "A king's hand is soft. You cannot farm like us. You cannot fish like us. You only sit on your stool." The king laughed that day, but her words pierced him. For the first time, someone had spoken to him not as a king, but as a man. That night, he could not sleep. He thought of her laughter, of her stubborn gaze, of the strength in her arms. And soon, he began to visit her secretly. Though her tongue was sharp, Ita had moments where her heart betrayed her. There were nights when the king entered her small compound and found her cooking by the fire. The smell of smoked fish and palm oil filled the air. She would pretend not to care, but when he sat beside her, she would quietly serve him food. Sometimes, after their quarrels, the king would hold her wrists and she would try to pull away, but not too quickly. He would whisper, "Ita, your anger burns me, but your nearness heals me. I am a king before air, but a man only before you." And though she would scoff, there were nights she rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. When their first son was born, the king wept in secret. He held the boy close, his royal beads clinking against the baby's soft skin. "He has your eyes," Ita whispered, her voice gentler than he had ever heard. In that moment, though she despised his pride, she loved him as the father of her child. But love in secrecy is a dangerous love. On the night when the prophecy was spoken that a wife of the king carried rebellion in her heart, Efiok came to Ita's hut, trembling with fear. She stood before him, her pestle in her hand, her eyes blazing. "Why come here, Obong, to beg me, to warn me, or to hide me more?" "I come because though you wound me, I love you. Though you hate me, I cannot leave you. You are the woman who makes me feel like a man, not a king." For the first time, her anger wavered. Her heart swelled with the memory of his laughter at the riverside, of his hands cradling the child, of the nights when he spoke not as a ruler but as a lover. She dropped the pestle. The silence was deep. The children stared in their sleep. The fire snapped. Slowly, Ita stepped forward and touched his face. Then Ita said, "And I hate your pride, but I love man who eats from my pot, who holds my son, who comes to me when the moon is high." Their lips met in a kiss that tasted of smoke, tears, and palm wine. But just as their hearts softened, thunder split the sky and the fire flared high. The prophecy's shadow loomed, and they both knew their love was a danger as much as it was a bond. Though Ita continued to defy him, though the kingdom whispered of her wrath, the love between them burned like a hidden ember, fierce, secret, and unquenchable. The people remembered her not only as the rude, stubborn wife, but as the woman that king could never let go, the one whose love was both his joy and his downfall. Even today, when lovers quarrel in Calabar, the elders say, beware, for even kings can be slaves to the stubborn women they love. The palace wives of King Efiok lived like queens, dripping in coral beads and wrappers woven with gold. But one fateful market day, the secret wife, Ita Ekamba, appeared. She had come to sell smoked fish and cassava flour, her children running at her side. Her wrapper was plain, her feet dusty, but her presence was fire. The palace wives whispered, "That woman, she walks like she owns the earth." One of them, the proud queen Inyang, the king's first wife, rose and confronted her. "You there, village woman, why do you walk boldly as if you belong here? You are nothing but a market seller." Ita looked her in the eyes and replied, her voice like thunder, "Better a market seller than a queen who waits all day for a man's shadow. I feed myself, I feed my children. Tell me, what do you feed other than your pride?" The market erupted in gasp. Women covered their mouths, men stepped back. A quarrel had begun that no one could quench. From that day, Inyang swore that she would destroy Ita Ekamba, but the secret was out. The king had another wife hidden from the palace. When the chiefs discovered Ita's existence, the kingdom shook like a palm tree in the storm. Some chiefs admired her. "She works harder than all the queens. She is loved by the people. Perhaps she should be queen." Others feared her. "She is stubborn. Her tongue is sharp. If she gains power, she will tear the palace apart." Soon, quarrels rose in the council. Drums of anger beat through the land. Women in the market argued. Warriors whispered at night. And Ita herself, her pride grew. She stood tall and declared, "If I am a woman enough to give the king's son, if I am woman enough to work harder than all his wife, then I am a woman enough to sit beside him on the throne." One rainy day, a woman from Insit village arrived at the palace gates. Her wrapper was torn, her feet muddy, but in her arms was a baby boy. She cried aloud so all the guards and servants could hear. "This child belongs to the Obong. I carried his seed. I am a mother of the king's blood." The palace froze. The baby's face, with its round cheeks and bright eyes, looked much like the king. Queen Inyang laughed bitterly. Ita Ekamba's eyes flared with fury. The two women met face to face in the palace courtyard that very evening. Inyang sneered, "Now, stubborn woman, you see? You thought you were the only one who could give the king's sons. Another has come. What will you do?" Ita Ekamba stepped forward, her children clutching her wrapper. Her voice was low, dangerous. "Another comes? Let her come. Let 1,000 come. None will walk like me. None will fight like me. The people would love me, and if the king dares deny me, I will take his throne with my own hands." The air grew heavy. Chiefs whispered among themselves. Some nodded secretly, for they knew the people admired Ita more than the pampered queens. The king stood torn between desire, fear, and duty. He loved Ita's fire, but he feared her ambition. He respected Inyang's position, but her pride was poison. And now, the new woman from Insit held a child who looked like his own blood. The land was on the edge of chaos. The market women argued day and night. The chiefs took sides, plotting in shadows. Even the drums of the kingdom beat differently, as though the gods themselves waited for blood. And Ita Ekamba, standing tall in her compound, declared to her children, "Your father may wear the crown, but I am the spirit of this land. If the palace rejects me, I will take what is mine. No queen, no stranger, no man will stop me." That is where the tale sharpens into betrayal, throne wars, and women clashing for power. The kingdom of Efut Obong boiled like a pot left too long on the fire. The chiefs could no longer agree. The warriors whispered of betrayal, and the market women lifted Ita Ekamba's name like a song. Soon, the prophecy was remembered. A wife of the king shall carry rebellion in her heart, and from her hands the throne shall shift. The elders looked at Ita Ekamba and saw the prophecy standing before them, her eyes blazing, her voice unshaken. When King Efiok tried to silence her, the people rose. The market refused to sell to the palace. The warriors stood at her side. Even the drummers beat their talking drums in her favor, saying, "The throne belongs to the woman who walks, not the queen who boasts." At last, the chiefs called for judgment. In the great square of Calabar, they stripped the king of his staff of office, beads falling like broken pride at his feet. The throne of Efut Obong passed not to a man, but to the stubborn woman the king once tried to hide, Ita Ekamba, the secret wife. What became of the king? King Efiok, once feared and honored, was cast into shame. He was not killed, for the people still remembered his reign. Instead, he was sent to live in a small compound near the edge of the river, the very place where he had first seen Ita pounding cassava. There, he lived quietly, eating from his own farm, no longer obeyed, no longer worshipped. Some nights, he sat by the river and whispered, "I was a king to many, but a man to one, and it was the man, not the king, who was overthrown." His heart never left Ita, but he learned that love without respect and truth cannot save a crown. As for Queen Inyang, the first wife, her pride destroyed her. When Ita was enthroned, Inyang thought she could still walk with her chin high and her tongue sharp. She mocked the new queen, but the people no longer feared her words. One day, in the marketplace, a group of women challenged her. "You sat in beads and gold, yet you never lifted a hand to work. You scorned the stubborn woman, yet now she sits on the throne. What have you to show for your pride?" Ashamed and powerless, Queen Inyang fled to her father's compound in disgrace. There, she lived out her days, bitter and forgotten. A warning to all women who place pride above wisdom. With Ita Ekamba on the throne, the kingdom changed. She ruled not from softness, but from strength. She walked among her people, still selling cassava flour at times, still smoking fish with her own hands. She gave lands to the widows, palm oil to the poor, and cassava stems to farmers so they could plant anew. The warriors loved her, for she respected their strength. The women adored her, for she showed that a wife could rise above shadows. The chiefs feared her tongue, but obeyed her, for her wisdom was sharp as a blade. Under her reign, Efut Obong prospered. The markets grew rich, the rivers yielded plenty fish, and the drums of the land beat in harmony once again. The lesson to other kings. The elders still tell the story by the fireside, raising their fingers for warning. A king who hides truth will be overthrown by it. A man may command a throne, but the woman who holds his heart may command the kingdom. Pride in a queen brings her fall. Humility and strength lifts her higher than beads or gold. A king is not only judged by chiefs, but by the people, and the people always see who truly works for them. So it was the secret wife, Ita Ekamba, that became the people's queen, a woman feared, loved, and remembered. And in Calabar to this day, when kings grow proud, the elders say, "Remember Ita Ekamba, the stubborn wife who became a throne." This is the end of the tale. Please comment about the story, subscribe to my channel, and share to others so they can also enjoy my stories.